Hi friends! I have been wanting to make a stained glass dress for well over a year now, so I'm so happy that I was finally able to tackle this project. My original inspiration for this dress came from seeing photos from a lantern festival, and I thought it would be really cool to make a dress that kind of glows or either looks like a lantern or a Tiffany lamp. But I had no idea how I was going to achieve that or what materials I was going to use, so I put it on the back burner for over a year. A couple months ago, I saw this Oscar de la Renta dress on Instagram, and I thought it looked super beautiful, and it seemed simple enough to make a dress inspired by it. So here's how it went. The first step was to choose what material would best achieve a stained glass look. I considered using colored paper or boards, but figured it wouldn't really look like glass. My next thought was to paint different types of paper, but as you can see, none of the options were anywhere close to what we're going for. I thought maybe frosted window stickers could go over top the paper to help, but it didn't end up doing much either. The next thing I tested was a shard of plastic. With a layer of paint, it was exactly what I was looking for. Recently, my dad cleaned out his barn and was willing to let me use these large pieces of plastic he found. We both figured they would shatter easily, but unfortunately that was not the case. We tried stepping on it, hammering it, hitting it with a hatchet, shooting it with a BB gun, even shooting nails into it. But we just ended up severely damaging it, but somehow not shattering it. Then we resorted to the table saw, which was interesting because I did not know how to use it. Thankfully, my dad showed me how and was very patient with me and my fear of power tools and bees, which for some reason there was a lot of hanging around the saw. One aspect of using the saw that I liked, as opposed to shattering the plastic, is that I had control over the shapes I was creating. Because of this, I tried to cut a variety. Unfortunately, I kept pushing the plastic into the saw at the wrong angle, and because of this, melted plastic would build up on the sides of the pieces. Thankfully, these popped right off. After my time at the table saw, I got to use the drill press, which I clearly knew how to use. The purpose of this step was to create holes along the edges of the plastic pieces that would allow them to be fastened to the dress. I definitely enjoyed this way more than using the table saw. I found it a lot more chill, but it definitely still had its moments. Did you see that? There was also this one bee that kept showing up and refused to leave for like 15 minutes every time, which was fine, but also kind of terrifying. Eventually, he did fly away and allow me to wrap up the rest of the pieces. Time to wash all of this. Just took a little break, watched a little bit of Doctor Who, and now we're getting back into it. I don't know what about using the drill press for a couple hours, it made me so tired, but I could take a nap right now. I know the best way to conclude a day filled with plastic cutting is definitely going to the skate park, so that's what we're gonna do. I love going to the skate park, but I'm really bad at skating. I'm trying to get into it this summer and make it more of a hobby because I think it's really fun. But here's my encouragement to you. If there's something that you want to do or like a new hobby, just do it. Just do it. If you can't tell by that lovely sound, it's raining today. I don't even know if you can hear me right now, so I'm just gonna go in the store. We are gonna pick up some supplies for this dress. I need some paint, some Mod Podge, and some paper fasteners. I'm trying to find a way where I can get the plastic to stay to the dress. We're gonna start at Joann's, as per the usual, because I have a gift card. Next destination, Hobbs Lobs. Hobby Lobby didn't have the paints that I was looking for, really. Well, they did, but they were kind of expensive. So we're gonna try to go to Michael's right now and see if they have what we're looking for. We're at our final destination to get some paper fasteners. I don't go to Staples very often, and I just went there. And it was fine until I couldn't find the paper fasteners. And when I say paper fasteners, this is what I mean. This is what I'm picturing. This is what I'm talking about. And I thought that Staples might have some that were small, and spoiler alert, they didn't. But at first I just couldn't find them. So I had to talk to one of the employees. I was trying to describe the paper fasteners to this employee that I was looking for, and I just had the worst explanation for them ever. I got a little video of it, but I put my phone in my back pocket and recorded. I'm looking for paper fasteners where it's a ball and then it's got two things that do you know what I'm talking about? I just didn't really think before I spoke. It was kind of embarrassing, but you know what? I'll probably never see that person ever again, so it's totally okay. And he was so chill about it. He was so nice. He helped me to find what I was looking for, but they only had the big gold ones, which is fine. I'm not judging them for not having the ones that I need, but not that I would be judging a store. What am I talking about? I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to order some online or look at a couple different stores to see what I can find. For paint colors, I used a few that I got from Michael's. The others I whipped up from mixing paint I already owned. We ended up with 7 different colors, each one a mix of paint and Mod Podge. After this, I sorted the plastic by size and divided them into 7 different groups, one for each of our colors. Alright y'all, it's painting day. Painting ended up being a more tedious step than anticipated. I originally thought each piece would need 1 layer of paint, but quickly realized that was not going to be the case. I ended up painting 4 to 6 coats for each, depending on the color. The lighter colors didn't need as many as the darker. Eventually, we had 7 beautifully colored groups of plastic. The brads just came in the mail, so we're gonna figure out if they're the right size. Moment of truth. Here they are. I think they might be a little bit bigger than I anticipated them being. I have been so focused on finding fasteners to use for this dress that I forgot that I need to make an actual dress. So that is our next step. I did get some black tulle, like basically the cheapest tulle that you can get. See, it's covered in glitter already from the store. We're gonna use this to make the dress. For the bodice, I made a pattern from a dress I already owned. Here's me cutting out the pieces, pinning them together, and sewing them. After doing that numerous times, I added another layer of tulle so that we could add channels for the boning. Here's me cutting the boning, rounding the edges, and sliding them into the bodice. After this, I secured the boning with a stitch and cleaned up the raw edges on the back. I found this photo on Pinterest and I'm basing the entire skirt off of it, so I hope that it's accurate. Using that as a reference, I measured, pinned, cut out the skirt, and slapped it onto the bodice. Here's what we've got. It's going okay so far. I'm about to put the zipper in the back. I did have one fitting issue and I had to add a little bit more over here, so I'm hoping that that doesn't become an issue when I put the zipper in, but I guess we'll find out. Alright, here it is. Don't mind the paint on the hanger. That's from my Apocalypse costume project. So it definitely has some issues with it. The zipper is very lopsided, but I'm not too worried about that. I think it'll be fine. Also, there's a lot of spots that aren't so pretty, but they'll all be covered up by the plastic pieces. The final step before fastening the plastic to the dress was to clean off the extra paint on the top edges. For this, I used Clorox wipes to remove what I could. Then I used this razor tool to get rid of the spots that were more stubborn. This thing scares me, but we're using it anyways because it's very helpful. This has become a very tedious step of the process that I wasn't really expecting. I have 4 colors done already, so I think I'll do 2 more tonight and then 1 more tomorrow morning. Tomorrow I'm going to go to Michael's and get the fasteners finally, and then we're going to start putting everything on the dress. The brads are not going to work out, so unfortunately we're going to have to keep searching for something to use. I did a little brainstorming with my brother and my dad, and they suggested that I use either rivets, screws, or buttons. We're going to see what we can find. Update. My dad called me while I was in there, and he's like, hey, I was just at the thrift store that's near this store, and he said that they have 2 ripsticks there for like $6. So we're gonna go on a side quest and we're gonna look at those ripsticks. Okay, so we totally got it. We got one of them. There were 2, but this one, the wheels were a little bit more intact. So the ripstick that I've had my whole life is a ripstick mini, and this is like full-size one. We're definitely gonna have to go to the skate park sometime in the next couple days and test it out. After this, I went to Menards to continue searching for fasteners. They definitely had a lot of options, but none that were perfect for this dress or within my price range. So the next day, I went back to Michael's to get head pins to use instead. The process for fastening was to treat each section like a puzzle. I would arrange the pieces until I was happy with the layout. Then the pieces got placed in formation on the sideline so I could fasten them onto the dress one at a time. The head pins would get chopped short and slid through the holes, with the extra getting bent along the plastic piece and secured with a dollop of hot glue. I always pressed the hot glue down while it was drying so it would lay flat. Unfortunately, this resulted in a lot of burns. I'm not gonna have fingerprints at the end of this, I swear. But it was worth it to keep the pieces secured. Here's what the dress looks like after day 1 of fastening. Because that was how things were looking after just a few hours, you can probably guess how long it took me to complete this step. It was extremely time-consuming, and it got more difficult as I went on. Flipping the dress over to glue each fastener became really inconvenient, so I decided to cut open the back of the dress and hand sew it back together once all the pieces were on. I started running into a lot of issues at this point. The plastic pieces were too big to achieve a flowy skirt. The tulle kept bunching up under each piece, so the skirt had to become more tight-fitting to the body and slightly shorter than I had originally envisioned. Also, me and Michael's kept running out of head pins, so I had to switch to these silver ones partway through the dress. Despite these obstacles, I did eventually get it all done. This step in the process took me at least 17.5 hours because I watched the entirety of Gravity Falls while doing it. Can you see my goat? It's falling apart. This isn't gonna last for like 10 more minutes, I swear.